An annual tradition we have at this final Power Breakfast of the year is to invite leaders of the Endowment to share updates with us. At the first event featuring the Endowment in 2021, we promoted it as an update on the $1,296,033,525 the Endowment had at that time. We like to be very exact at the Business Journal. The Endowment has since grown significantly in terms of its holdings, its grants, and its team. Today we're happy to have with us Shannon Winslow, the chair of the Endowment's board, and Sophie Dagenais, the interim president and CEO of the Endowment. They will be interviewed by Business Journal editor Vicki Janowski. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage.
So as we're taking our seats, I want to thank all the speakers for sharing your perspectives with us. And as Rob mentioned, we're going to switch tracks for a couple of minutes. And every year since the nascent years, even with Spence Broadhurst and Hannah Gage, we've talked and checked in with the Endowment. And we do this for an important reason, just the sheer size of this fund and the potential it has, and the fact that it can only be spent in New Hanover County because of the way it was created, is really a significant issue for the community. I know you heard it mentioned a couple times in the presentations. I don't think that's a coincidence that it has fueled the projects that have been mentioned. I think we'll continue to hear more of that as the years go by. So we want to thank you guys for joining us again this year, because these folks represent who is in charge of really deciding what's the best and highest use for our community of these funds. So thank you very much. So just to kind of give us a check-in, Sophie, I know you joined the Endowment this year as VP of Grants, and then in the summer became named the interim president and CEO, which we'll get to in just a minute. But just to kind of set the stage and let us know what the Endowment's been up to in terms of grants, if you guys could fill us in on, real quickly and broadly, what's been the disbursement into the community this calendar year?
Sure, I can take that. Thank you. So we're really excited and proud that since inception, Vicki, we have committed $176 million into New Hanover County. And just in 2025 alone, we have committed $53 million. So this has been across all four pillars, which of course are education, safety, business development, and also healthcare.
And I want to get a little bit to drilling down how those decisions are made amongst those four pillars, just for some background. When we say the four pillars, those are areas of investment that was created even from the establishment of the Endowment, which we see up there. And so every year I kind of ask a different form of this question, but I'm always curious about how those decisions are made in terms of which to focus on amongst those pillars and within the pillars. I know a lot of people within this audience have talked to the Endowment, to the board, about how do you decide which to prioritize this year.
You bet. So first of all, thank you for having us. It's my pleasure to be here. It's also good to be here with the chair of our board. And Shannon's right, this year has been a busy year for us, and you're right, I've been there since the Endowment here since late January, and a good portion of the year was spent in partnership with our board to do what we have referred to as a strategic refresh. And that is simply to say, what is our mandate? The mission has not changed, but how may we refine the work, and how may we make the work a little bit more known to our community. That is to say, so this year we've awarded $54 million in grants, and the process is as follows. In terms of grant approvals, our board is involved in every grant that we make. Our grants committee meets monthly, as does our board, and at every meeting, our team recommends grants, and we do that based on our relationships with our partners in the community in New Hanover County. And we seek them out or they find us. And the more we cultivate these relationships, the clearer our mission becomes, the more our partners and our grantees know where we are trying to go, then these recommendations become that much easier. And the relationships with our partners and with our community will grow. And so it's a multifaceted process that obviously involves First and foremost, our community. Second, the team at the endowment. And then, of course, our board.
And then this year, there was a new approach to it, I would say, in terms of looking at larger issues, but through assessment studies that started with recreational needs. And just as of yesterday, which we'll talk a little bit more about, there was 2 other areas of study. One being, I'm sure, of interest to our audience in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship, and the other early childhood care and education. So same thing on that in terms of taking this approach of contracting out with an outside group to take a deep community assessment, deep dive in these issues. How are you picking which of these deep dives to do?
They are absolutely driven by the results of that strategic refresh process. So as part of that, we with the engagement of our board and in consultation with community, we landed on what we call focus areas. And across these pillars, which, as you say, are embedded in our founding documents, we established specific focus areas. And so in health, for example, mental health, behavioral health, preventive care, and maternal and infant health. In education, early childhood, K through 12. In community safety, youth engagement, and in community development, entrepreneurship and innovation, and recreational facilities. And so what we have done is, these are the focus areas that have been established by our board. And so in the second half of 2025, what we have done is, in addition to deploying grants on the ground, in the moment, to all the field organizations that are doing the real work, we have had to prep ourselves for the implementation of this refresh 26 to 2030. And part of that is the discovery process. These are bold goals that we've established. And yes, we could independently seek out who is doing early childhood education and partner with them. But we actually want to do more than that. We are very curious to learn across these landscape assessments who is doing the work. We may think we know, but we do not necessarily know everything. Access is everything. People may think they have access to us, and people may not think they have access to us. How do we find everyone? It is by virtue of these landscape assessments. So entrepreneurs, well, I think you want to ask a separate question about that, so I'll save that. But in early childhood, how do we make sure that every family has access to childcare and every child has access to a quality early childhood education? Both of which, by the way, has huge impact on our business community and our economy. And so what are we doing? We are partnering with an organization that will help us here and engage our entire community. Who is doing childcare? Who is doing early childhood education? Who is not doing it? Where are they doing it? Where are they not doing it? Who thinks they are doing it, right? Who are the children in our county that have access? Who are the children in our county that don't have access, and why? What are those barriers? Let's gather that information, and through that information, we can make sound recommendations to our board in partnership with the community. That is the kind of work that these landscape assessments are intended to do. In some instances, we are contracting with someone, and in other instances, we are trying to do the work in-house as well.
And Shannon, since this is a new approach to it again, and we haven't seen what it looks like on the other end of it, does the board see it as a way of taking the results from the assessment and using that to drive what your funding decisions are going to be from it? And also, what kind of timelines are we looking at? Is this like a year-long deep research? Is it a couple months?
So we are now really progressing from being a startup organization to really a period of strategic execution. So that's what you're seeing this year, particularly with the initiative that Sophie referenced, which was our strategic refresh. We're just over 5 years old, so we're still young, but again, moving into that new phase, as many of you all know, as business leaders in the community with business cycles, et cetera. But essentially, we are looking at multi-year. We're going to be here in perpetuity, long past all of our lives, our children's, our grandchildren. So again, multi-year, Vicki, is what we're looking at. So in the past, we really were taking in grants. So this is our effort to be a lot more strategic, where we looked at the focus areas in each pillar. And that was determined very thoughtfully and very intentionally because we used local experts, particularly leaning into our Community Advisory Council, other local experts in the 4 pillar areas, national experts, listening to the community, listening to business leaders, just really incorporating all that along with data so that we can really get out in front and lead and start to make that transformational change that we're looking at.
Okay, and let's talk about a little bit about the announcement yesterday, another one of these deep dives. And that was partnering with UNC to study innovation, entrepreneurship, the ecosystem, analyze the workforce, the business trends, looking at the funding, capital networks, looking at other regional economies. So just, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, this seems like the first real deep focus in terms of economic ecosystem innovation, like I just said. So I'm just curious, where did that come from in terms of making this another big focus of time and energy? And also, what is it, what do you think it is going to try to encompass?
Yep, you bet. So, their entrepreneurship and innovation are not new to Wilmington and New Hanover County, as we've been hearing all morning and then some. And they are clearly a strength of Wilmington and New Hanover County. And in getting, I cannot speak for our board, but I arrived at the endowment in the middle of the process. And I think our board sees that as something that we can help augment and catalyze and accelerate. We are taking what is a strength of this region, and we are wondering how may we augment that strength. And how can we make entrepreneurship and innovation accessible to all in New Hanover County? And so the objective here is not just to contribute to a thriving economy, as we should, and it is not necessarily a jobs agenda, although entrepreneurship and innovation will in fact create jobs. Our jobs agenda is broader than that, and we'll speak to economic mobility. But here we are building on what is a strength of New Hanover County. Why create new? Why invent new? We are here. The entrepreneurs are here. Innovation is here. So what this will do is it will help us better understand the ecosystem that is shaping entrepreneurship and innovation here. We want to understand, for example, from the entrepreneurs themselves, what were the support systems that helped them? What can we better understand about that social capital, which is so key to any one of us in any domain, as an entrepreneur or not? What are the barriers to building that social capital? In terms of real debt and equity capital, where are those sources and how are they accessible to every aspiring entrepreneur? Let's learn about whatever barriers exist, and let's try at the endowment to see how we may remove those barriers. We're going to learn from UNC Chapel Hill, a very, very logical partner given what UNC is in the state of North Carolina and right here in Wilmington, given the work that they have been doing all over the world, and leveraging that resource to also look at other models elsewhere. There are plenty of organizations right here in New Hanover County that are supporting entrepreneurs. Let's learn how they work together, and let's see how we may help to foster deeper collaboration and make that system more accessible to all of frankly, the children of New Hanover County who have the potential to be entrepreneurs themselves.
Are there examples that you've seen or you think would be interesting in terms of what that would look like in funding on the other end of it, or do you think it's too premature to say?
I think it's premature to say, but I anticipate that we will see some good examples, and they may be infrastructure, building on infrastructure we already have here, or they may be programs, right? They may be investments of our own. But I do think it is too early to tell, and we look forward to receiving a suite of recommendations that again could be infrastructure-oriented, investment-oriented, or programs-oriented. And by the way, the entire process will engage the entire community of systems and programs and entrepreneurs who are in this space already. So if there's anyone, and there are, because I've seen some of you in the room, reach out to us because we want you to sign up to be part of that consultative process.
And we're talking a lot about grants right now and funding. And Sophie, like you mentioned, you came on at the beginning of the year as VP of Programs and Grants, but also this year was a leadership change as well. And in the summer, you became interim president and CEO when Dan Winslow left, who was the second head of the staff since the endowment started. So that was this summer. So what is the latest in terms of a permanent president and CEO search?
Sure. So in August,
Oh, I can't speak to it. but-
August of this
Board
year,
chair.
the board met, and at that point, we were really in the midst of several very important initiatives, including the refresh that we've talked about this morning. Additionally, we're preparing for a successful 2026 with that and launching that refresh. So given the fact that we're in the middle of these initiatives, Vicki, and we really decided that it was in the best interest of the endowment and the community that we spend the rest of the year really focusing on the work and setting us up for success. And with that, we delayed any discussion and decisions until Q1 of 2026. And so we are still tracking with that plan.
Okay. So no preliminary discussions about a national search or when that timeline would be?
We have not, because we have been head down focused on the work.
Okay. And we only have a couple minutes left. I know this is something that we could talk about for hours, and we'll continue coverage in the Business Journal about it. But one thing I did want to mention, because I'm not sure everyone realize it, some people do, but there's going to be another structural change coming up that's required in terms of making it a private fund. So very quickly, without getting into the weeds, what triggers that, and what will make it look different than how it operates now from what the community will see or the grantees will want to see?
Vicki, the structural change that you're speaking of is right now we are designated as a community foundation, which means that we are pushing out up to 4% out into the community with regards to grants each year. This is an IRS equation that they use. We expect in the next couple of years we will fail that IRS test and we will then become private. And when we become private, that means that we have got to disperse a minimum of 5%. And what that means is we will be, the amounts will be larger. We have been preparing for this moment since the day we began. A lot of hard work, and one of the areas that we do not talk about often that I'm most proud of is the stewardship by the board of the corpus. We were initially given, between the initial amount and some of the wind down from the county, which deserves a huge amount, by the way, of recognition. If not for the county, we would not even have this unprecedented opportunity that we do. And all the speakers that you heard this morning, Dr. Bowers and Shane Fernando and these endowments, they would have never been made. So thank you, a huge thank you to the county. But essentially, we started with just about 1.4 total. We've operated for
1.4 billion.
1.4 billion, lots of zeros. And we have operated for 5 years. And there is no group other than the 500 plus of you in New Hanover County that understands how much it costs with operating costs to operate a business. So we've operated for 5 years, and we have cut checks for well over $100 million in New Hanover County. And we still have and sit at 1.7 billion in our corpus. So all that to say, the 1.7, we will start using that equation the next couple years to push out a minimum of 5% out in our community, which is an unprecedented opportunity. There is no other county in the United States of America that has this opportunity.
And because of its unique structure, I mean, how in terms, since this is a business audience, how does that overlap or interconnect with what you all are doing? I know a lot of the discussions tend to be these large social and transformational issues. How do you all interact with the business and economic development communities?
Oh, I think our worlds intersect every day. We have shared goals, whether we are necessarily mindful of that every day, but think about what I mentioned earlier in terms of early childhood and childcare. The availability of and the affordability of childcare is absolutely essential for our businesses to thrive. And so the absence of those options for our parents will trigger some gaps in the workforce, will impact productivity. inside of our businesses. Similarly, Dr. Katabi, Dr. Bowers referred earlier, at the last breakfast, painted a really exciting picture. Our economy is thriving. We have jobs being created here. And you may remember from what he said that nearly 50% or more than 50% of those jobs are filled by non-New Hanover County residents. And so we have an opportunity here. What is the opportunity? It is to make sure that our high schoolers are preparing for those jobs and for the economy of tomorrow by giving them different types of opportunities while they are in middle school and high school to discover career paths. And so lining up and matching our local workforce to the needs of our employers are two good examples of how we at the Endowment may partner with our businesses.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for your time. Like I said, I know we could continue this on for hours. You all have a community session coming up, correct?
Public meeting next week, December 10. Please join us if you can,
Okay.
5:30.
More information there and more information as we continue to cover you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.